want to get into making the pick feel natural and how to use this thing without having so many challenges. We talked about how to hold it in the previous video. This one will be actually really using it. And there's two things we're going to address. One is picking and one is strumming. So when you're using the pick, you decide on your pick, you get the pick you want to use it. Strumming, you probably, if you're a beginner, want a thinner pick, though you can definitely use a nice firm pick for strumming. It will feel way more clunky, right? But it'll force you to get good control over it. So you decide what you want to use. If you use a thinner pick, it'll feel a little easier for strumming, but for picking, the thicker picks definitely, you feel more feedback when you're picking because it's firm. So as you pick, you really feel the vibration and the connection on both. And you feel that contact point so you can be more precise, get the notes you want without it being as sloppy. And again, we don't want to hold it loose. We want to hold it with a good grip. If it's all loose and floppy and you're trying to cover your mistakes, most people, I did this for a long time, will hold the pick all loose and soft just because they don't want it to be loud and they want it to be soft and they're picking so it doesn't sound bad. You're sweeping them, the problems under the rug. You're not dealing with it. The firm pick or a firm grip enables you to really hear if you make a mistake, you can't miss it. It's like in your face. This is good. You want to hear and find where the mistakes are so that you can then zero in on them, improve them, and get rid of them. All right, so first let's talk about picking. Strumming is a bit more involved and it's a bit more to coordinate because you're hitting so many strings. It seems simple, down, up, but we'll get to that in a minute. The picking though, single notes. So to make this feel more comfortable, we want to anchor our hand on the bridge. You might anchor up here. I'm going to anchor down here. So whenever you're picking something, we want to have some contact point. Some people don't, but this is just like when you're writing with a pencil. Say you got a table, you're writing, you're using a pen, you're really resting on the table. You're not floating above it. And by doing that, you're already used to this muscle memory. So you just apply that to guitar. Okay, and make that contact point for when you're picking. So if you picked a single string, let's take this thin E string. We're moving from the wrist. Okay, we're not wiggling the thumb. We're doing this. Okay, you might see some players do that, and that's not entirely bad, but we definitely want to get used to using the wrist, not the elbow. We don't want like this stiff robot elbow for picking. Like if you're trying to write your name from the elbow. It's difficult. We're picking precise single notes. We anchor, we move from the wrist just like when we're using a pencil. Let's keep it simple, one point of movement. All right, so what we'll do is not worry about anything complicated. We don't need to worry about playing scales yet. We don't need to worry about playing licks and songs. You can apply what we're doing to all that on your own. So if you have scales you're working or notes from a song, whatever it is, even if it's just, you know, all that stuff that people play in the beginning to get things going. But let's just pick a single note. Is we're going to use this thin string and we're going to go up to the 7th fret. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we're just going to hold that down and we're going to anchor and we're going to tremolo pick. Tremolo pick is that's just a fancy word for picking down and up repetitively over and over again really fast. You could start down, up, and work it faster over time to see how fast you can go with just your wrist. Okay? Be consistent volume. Doesn't have to be super fast. We just want it to be steady. You don't have to go as fast as I'm going. So this is as fast as you can go. Or faster or slower. You can even go this slow. Doesn't matter. As long as you're steady, you have it under control, and you're consistent. Okay, now the notes I was playing, you can hear every single note, down and then the up. This is why we're doing the thin string, because it's very thin. You get very precise picks on it. And you can hear how clean it is. If you're pointing and tilting that pick upward, your down's gonna feel smooth, and the up, it's gonna get caught, and it's gonna go, it's gonna feel weird. So we want it to adjust the pick so you have that nice, consistent down and up tremolo pick. Okay, you could try this on each string. It's going to feel weirder on the rounder strings, these thick ones, because they're so round, the pick tends to slip over it. The thinner strings, you get that snap, okay? And by doing this a little bit every day, you'll get more control over your pick, you'll get more speed. If you can play faster and have it be controlled, not just nonsense, right? We want to play consistent. Doing slower things is easier, okay? Doesn't mean you have to shred or anything like that. We're just building up muscle memory and consistency. All right. So that's the first thing that will really make this feel so much more natural. You don't have to do anything hard at all. You could try open strings as well. Okay, you can play up really high. You can play all over. The more open the string is, meaning you're not holding any notes down, the string moves around a little more. If you hold it up higher, the string is very tight. It doesn't move very much. That's why I picked the 7th fret. It's a little bit more in the middle. That way you have more of a balanced feel. As you do this, your hand's going to feel nice and warmed up. Then when you bring in a scale, it's going to feel more natural, okay? And that's it. Just tremolo pick a bunch every day. As it starts to get more natural, you can cut that out, all right? Now, if when you're tremolo picking, it's just really clunky and you can't get it smooth, there's a couple things that you can do to adjust. One, go back and watch the previous video. Follow all the advice there, because that will get you set up for picking properly. But it's usually because you don't have enough angle, you're picking flat. Next thing we're going to look at is the strumming. Now I have a thick pick. This is 1.2, maybe 1.0, I can't remember. I think it's 1.2. So this is very, very hard. It's not thin, it's not floppy. Great for picking. I think it's great for strumming too, but harder if you're a beginner. So with the strumming, we again want to follow all the advice from the previous video, but we want to strum from a little bit from the elbow and a little bit from the wrist. We want things to be kind of loosey-goose, okay? So just let your hand kind of flop around. We don't want this stiff wrist. So if you're strumming like a robot, this is going to be very tiring once you get into playing entire songs like that. If you're just working so much, your arm is going to get really tight. You're going to get tired of playing that every day. And you're not going to be able to go fast without forcing it. And then when you force it more, your body is going to get tight. Could be your shoulder, your elbow, your lats, I don't know. Something's going to get really tight. That's going to build up over time, and you're going to end up having problems physically. Okay, maybe injuring yourself. But even if not, you're going to go slow and it's going to look weird. All right, so we don't want to look weird. Now, we want this wrist to be loose. So to practice, just kind of let your wrist kind of flop around real loose, okay? Kind of like whatever. All right, so if you were to ever throw a ball, okay, baseball, football, basketball, whenever you're throwing, there's finesse and you use your wrist. Now, if you haven't thrown balls much and you're not any good at it, that's okay. I'm just going to use this anyway. For those of you who have, we want there to be sort of a looseness to the wrist, okay? There's a follow through. So when we're strumming, right, the wrist is kind of loose. There's a little bit of a bounce from the elbow, a little bit. So if you watch from here to here, okay, there's a bounce, but it's not this robot arm stuff, right? It's just a bounce, and the wrist has more going on. Pick firm, and by keeping the wrist loose, it's able to bounce through. There's not this stiffness. If you hold it really firm, your wrist is probably going to get tight. So there's the trick, is not having the pick get loose. If the pick turns in your hand or you drop it, it's too loose, okay? So the pick should be pointed straight at the guitar. You should have a firm grip on it so that when you're strumming, it doesn't ever turn. You don't drop it. It just stays there, right? So by being loose in the wrist, that helps it to move through more smoothly. Same thing with the tremolo picking. We want to go straight up and down, right? We're not going to be picking like this, bouncing in and out. Same thing with strumming. You don't want to be having your wrist turn like that a whole bunch or be bouncing around. We want it straight up and down. Okay, so by going straight up and down, you're hitting those strings consistently. That is the strumming focus there, is let that wrist be loose, go straight up and down. There's more to it, but if you can start building that in and get that piece in, as you make adjustments over time, it will feel easier and everything will start to connect together. It's not just like one tip and you're done. And depending on where you're at and how you're doing it, there might be like many steps you need to take to keep adjusting your playing and getting things built in. If you want all the details on that at a beginner level, check out our free strumming success course at guitarresults.com. It'll really get you going with your strumming. And also we have the beginner guitar basics course on the website as well to be able to not just strum, but also get into your chords and other elements of picking and other things in music to really get you going as a beginner. Simple stuff, everything is condensed in this down to the most basic thing, and without having a bloated course with like way too much stuff you're never gonna do. It's very short, very simple, but it gives you the things that I've tested and found to be the most impactful and powerful in building up what you need in your strumming and your playing as a beginner, depending on what you get. And just put these simple things into practice. Don't overthink it, don't overcomplicate it. Rewatch the video again, slow it down, whatever you gotta do. Make some progress, get some results. Have a good day.